there we go. Very good evening to you, and welcome to this special edition of the Locker Room as we look ahead to the Poland Scotland game tonight, kicking off at 8:15. And again, it's not live on TV, but anyway, it's we'll give you the best build up ever. We will give you the team news as it comes out. I think it will be about 7:15 tonight, as always. And get your comment coming in. We're on Facebook and we're on X as well. And as I said, we've got a show coming up at 10 o'clock as well, hopefully talking about another Scotland victory in the Nations League. Joined tonight by Regan. How are you, Regan? It's good to be back.
I'm doing good, Michael. These 6 o'clock shows have me running off my feet here. Aye, but it's good to be on.
Yeah, no, exactly. And we'll tell you about another show that we've got coming up for you, the VR show, coming up later on in the show. So, Regan, we go into this game on Good Forum. Well, I say Good Forum. Good evening to Anna Lino. He's watching on YouTube. It's a good evening, gentlemen. That's a sign. I don't know about you, Regan, but if somebody calls you gentleman, you actually get worried and you say, "Oh, am I hitting that age yet?" You know, but I'm really 21 and you're 25, so we're okay. So we're going into the game in good form, Regan, after Friday night, after last week's victory.
Oh, we are, Michael. I mean, Ben Doak was fantastic. Scotland are going in with loads of confidence, loads of determination, and to Michael play the piano.
Yeah, no, it's my. I think my computer's taking a kind of hiccup fit as we speak, but it should be okay.
No, I mean, Scotland are playing well at the moment. We've got Steve Clark, who's trying to silence the people that were saying Steve Clark out after the Euros, and I was one of them, including Michael. But I tell you something, after Friday night there, it's going to turn me a little bit to say, right, well, that was a good show, and then Scotland have got some good players that we can really depend on. So no, I'm feeling pretty positive in terms of Scotland now, and I think it's going to be a big match in terms of the Poland match tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, I saw the highlights. Unfortunately, I never saw the game the other night, but I saw the highlights of the second half, and Scotland had us two good chances.
Oh, they did. Croatia were the better team, Michael. They had a few good chances themselves, but that's the kind of luck you need in these big matches. You know, Modric played a beautiful pass at 1-0 to Scotland, where he took away two defenders, and it was a case of how did they miss? But I think in these nights as well, Michael, we need to pay tribute to Craig Gordon as well, because
Mm.
as me and Robbie said on Friday night, if you've not watched it, then you should go back and watch it because it was a cracking show. I mean, Robbie, he makes some good points, and fair play to Graham. You know what I mean? It makes some sense at some point. So, and so Friday night was one of them where I think Graham actually did speak a bit of sense. So I think you should go back and check it out. But I mean, in terms of Friday night, I mean, I think it'll be the same team that played on Friday night. Mike, I don't know about yourself.
What you mean is we should do every show at 6 o'clock on the Friday if Graham makes good points, or maybe that was that
Oh,
particular
definitely.
Friday
But
night.
that's a shame why he's not here tonight because he's not here because I'm here because he knows that I'll tell him.
Exactly, yeah. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he hates Mondays. I don't know if you remember that song. But so yeah, I mean it's yeah, I mean that was a positive result from Scotland going Friday night. As I say, game only saw the highlights, but they performed well. Um, but I think as well, Regan. I mean, we've done so many of these shows now in the Champions League and the Europa Cup as well. sometimes you've got to ride your luck in these kind of games because that you know that you're not going to get all the kind of possession of the ball.
I mean, definitely. I mean, in these matches, Michael, it's very difficult to really get in your rhythm, and I think Scotland. I don't think we are blessed with. Well, it's a conversation that me and you have all the time. I think we've got talented players, but do we have a talented player in terms of 1 to 11? I think we've got decent players, but I think it's all about trying to improve that for the future.
Yeah, no, definitely, and I think that if we get a decent result tonight. I mean, I think like if we walk away from Poland without getting beat, I think that will stand us in good stead. But I mean, 3 points would be even better. But as I say, as long as we don't come away from Poland with no points.
Aye, definitely. I mean, in terms of that, I feel like Scotland have really got an interesting thing going on right now. Where if we win by 2 clear goals tonight, Michael, we're still going to be in League A. If Portugal beat Croatia, which I expect them to do, so no, I feel like Scotland are in a good place at the moment.
Yeah, no, I get exactly, and I think it as well that obviously, you would think that, well, hopefully tonight we've passed it and get a point or get 3 points. But do you think that's a bad spell over, Reagan? Because we played so many games, done okay in most of them, you would say, but come away with nothing.
I'm hopeful because I think in terms of Scotland, I think we need to really that Michael because if you think about this bad spell we've been on, we've still got a really good team, play, players that I feel can really dominate matches. So I don't think overall it's something we can look back on and really be unhappy with.
Yeah, no, exactly. And the team will stay the same. But I mean, before we talk about the team, I mean, I don't know many times we've said on the show about Craig Gordon playing for Scotland and country. I mean, he's played for Hearts in European football. I mean, it was 2 years ago. What was it? 2 years ago, last Christmas Eve, we thought that his career was over. That it was a bad tackle. Was up at Dundee United, and and you're thinking, well, good servant and all that, but hey, he's kind of he's kind of bounced back, and it reminds me of kind of like Jim Leighton back in the day in terms of like I think Jim Leighton played until he was in his 40s, and Craig Gordon's going in that direction.
Aye, I think in terms of Craig Gordon, he's been a great servant for Scotland, and even that save that he made the other night in the first 5 minutes, really bad slack pass by Kenny McLean, but he really made up for it with the save. I mean, the save that he did with his feet, I can't think of a better shot stopper with his feet than Craig Gordon.
Yeah, no, exactly, and I think he's one of the good servants for, as I say, Hearts, Celtic, and Scotland as well, because he's played at so many different levels. I mean, you talk about the Champions League for Celtic, the Europa League for Hearts, and obviously the Conference League. It's still a good standard of football, and then for Scotland tonight.
Yeah, definitely is. I'm looking forward to seeing the team news. So we'll bring it to you, Michael. It'll be good to see what sort of team that Steve Clark plays tonight because I think it will be the same team, but maybe it might throw in like a Scott McKenna because Scott McKenna popped on the game on Friday night. He really showed that he's a really class operator because you need to remember as well, Michael, that he's playing in the Spanish top flight. So I don't think these clubs would really take a chance on these players if they didn't think they're up to a very good standard.
I was just going to talk about John McGinn, because obviously we spoke about the team going through a wee sticky period of not picking up results. But do you think that goal will do a bit, do him some confidence? Because as you know, a striker only needs a goal or come over his head or whatever, and it will give him a confidence wise.
Yeah, I think confidence wise, John McGinn's a very confident player, but I feel like on Friday night that was the kind of thing he needed because you remember as well, Michael, that John McGinn's been into for a long time, so that's really going to make him kind of down, depressed. You know, the fact that he's not been able to play for Scotland for a while, and the fact that he's there with a sold out Hampden, and they've got a lot of people at Modric on the park, and I think John McGinn's one of these players that really enjoys kind of being involved in the Scotland squad as well.
Now, the good thing about doing the show with you, Reagan, and we always get to see people's comments, and I always love people's names, right? But obviously, I said to you before that we had this King Trout Scottish Gold TV, and I thought that was brilliant. But I think this one beats it, Reagan. I don't know about you. So we've got a comment here from Wayne Gums. And I do like my wing gums now and again.
I mean, as well,
I don't know about you, Reagan.
I would ask you about your personal favourite wine gum, Michael. Have you got a favourite wine gum?
Going from talking about Poland to Scotland to talking about wine gums, this is turning on a food show. But no, I like a certain type of wine gum. I think I would maybe say I'm a wine gum snob if there's any.
Aye,
If but
I like
no,
I like the see the
the
ones you get that are red and black. They're my
yeah,
favourites. They're my
no,
favourite.
yeah. So wine gum says Scotland 2-3. Now I hope you're right, and
Hope the
if
right
you
wine
are,
gums, and then
I hope
Nick
you're right, and
can be
you
on the
can
show
say
at 10 o'clock
you
with
can.
a bag of wine gums and tune into group and Michael.
Yeah, you can think it's a Wingham. I'll give you my I'll give you my address later. And stuff like that. Yeah, but Wingham's are nice actually. But what we do? Oh yeah, talking about the game. So we I can't remember what I was gonna ask you. That's kind of put me off now.
I want to ask you a question, Michael. See, in terms of Scotland, who would you play up top? Because we've seen Tommy Conway Friday night do okay, but would you stick with him or would you go with Dykes?
Uh, you know me, Reagan. I would say the two of them, but that's never going to happen. But
Uh,
I would maybe put I would maybe put Tommy Conway to start the game and maybe give him about 60 minutes, and then if it's not working, change it. What about you?
See, that's why sports are game opinions, Michael, because I would go with Dykes just because I feel like Poland are going to be very physical, and I feel like
Mm.
sometimes in these physical matches, if you look back to Austria, you look back to Poland, um, a couple of years ago, and then you look back to even the match we played against Norway when we won 2-1. Now obviously, player for player, I think Norway are a better side than us, but I mean, Dykes did that match, Michael, was brilliant. You know what I mean? He laid the ball back for McLean to score. And I think that's something that we need to do tonight in terms of try and get our important players to go up the park, like of John McGinn, Billy, Scott McTominay, and make sure that they're supplying people like Ben Doak and Diggs to score.
I mean, it really surprises me, and I think I'm not the only Scotland fan that said that, Reagan. But when Ronaldo came to town against Portugal, I mean, Scotland were the better team. And then on Friday night, the better team as well. So I don't know what it is in terms of Scotland raising their games against better teams, but you're thinking, well, you're not going to come up with you're not going to play high profile teams every kind of like Nations League window. Why do you think that is?
I think in terms of that, I think Scotland, they've got a small pool of players. It's like you always say in terms of like um, like trying to improve for the future. I think that's something that we need to do as well. I mean Stephen goes on about the fact that a certain Motherwell player should be in the squad. And I tend to agree with him. You know, that guy, 17 years age, he should be thrown in. I think it's because we've got a small pool of players to choose from, Michael. I think that is the shortened answer to your question.
Yeah, because I remember we had this conversation, and we might have it again actually. But we had the conversation after the England game at Wembley at the Euros. What was that? 2 Euros ago during lockdown, and we were talking about a decent point that night. But the big concern for me was nobody's coming through at the moment, and I think we're starting to see one or two of these shoots at the moment, but
Yeah,
sadly that they're not getting game time.
I think you're right, but I think there also needs to be a bit of perspective as well. You know, I said this on Friday to Graham when Graham was on. I said that I think Steve Clark's actually learning from his lessons. He's learning that
Hmm.
you also need to bring in youth players as well, but you also don't need to let them do their talking on the park. You know, it's okay, Steve Clark bringing these players in, but how many times was I doing a show with you and Graham and we spoke about the fact that James Forrest or Ben Doak or Lewis Morgan, all of these players were in the squad, Michael, right? And then they never got a chance off the bench to prove themselves. So it's okay saying, well, um, like that player can come in and then do his best, but then it's all about getting the opportunity.
Yeah, I suppose you're right, because the only way that you're going to learn from stepping up to that international level is by going away with the squads and mixing with them and kind of training with them. And I think I said as well, Reagan, not for the first time on the show, but I think as well that
Is that you made a good point? Is that what you saying?
exactly, yeah,
You made a good,
maybe.
I've made a good point, not for the first time.
Maybe that's the same time as Graham make a good point on Friday, like 20 past, maybe 20 past 6 is a new favourite time for everyone. Maybe we should get to do a show between 25 past 6 and 21 minutes past 6 as well, so that everybody can make a good point. But no, what I was about to say was see if you've flown used to us, obviously we're talking about Scotland. Next week we'll be back to the bread and butter of the Premiership and the European football in a couple of weeks' time. But see if you've flown youth players, Reagan, they've got no fear, because they would take it, they would take the kind of bull by the horns, as they say, because like they've only got one chance, and if they don't do that and want that one chance, you know what will be happening.
Aye, I think it's important that these players take the chance and that they also try and make sure that they stay in the squad because there's no point someone like a Lewis Morgan doing well for one game and then nobody sees him for 10 matches. Like, that's what I always said about Nisbet, who's now at Aberdeen. You know, he played well for a few games for Scotland and then we tend to not see him for a long time again. So it's all about these players trying to stay in the manager's head, stay in the manager's thoughts, and make sure that they've got um, Steve Clark checking on them and making sure that they're doing well because it's all about making trying to make sure that it's a possibility for them to get in the squad. And I know that the English media have been talking about Harry Kane, but and stuff like that because he's talking about in terms of who's more important, is it international football or is it club football? But I think it also, Michael, I mean, the biggest representation should be the fact that you're representing Scotland. That should be the biggest thing that you do, that you're representing your country to play football. So that needs to be installed in the players as well. And I think Steve Clark's done a great job because I don't know if you remember, Michael, but see under Alex, nobody was no players wanted to go. You know, and Hampden was well as half empty and stuff like that. So it's important that Steve Clark gets the recognition for what he's done. You know, he's got his back to back Euros, and we've got a team that we can be proud of now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously people give Clark stick and all that, but you've got to remember the job that his gig, because as you say, when McLeish was in and maybe Betty Volts, I don't know if that's a bad word to use at this time of night, that I was a chore to watch Scotland. You were thinking, well, I can't be bothered watching Scotland, but them on the national team, but I know we're going to get beat anyway. But I mean, you watch Scotland with positivity now that the players that we've got coming through the system, and he's got to tap into that market as well, kind of youth football, because obviously, I mean, you saw with the boy that I can't remember his name at the moment, that the boy that scored in the Euro from, I think it's Spain, but he's 19. So
Yeah,
like,
Lamine Yamal.
yeah, so
Lamine Yamal, yeah.
but the point is this, that um you've got to develop within, and
Aye.
see, I think this is where international football's a wee bit different to like Celtic and Rangers and all that, right? Because they can go overseas and buy players, right? But Steve Clark's not, because he's got to work with the players that he's seen every week.
And I think that's a good point you make in terms of seeing. So I'm going to ask you a genuine question here, right? See if we the 19-year-old, right, well, the likes of the young man at Motherwell, right? Do you think he'd be thrown in it to play at the Euros to get us to a championship? I don't think he would, because and that's the difference between Scotland and Spain. Scotland have got
Mm,
Scotland have got a negative nature in terms
yeah.
of he's too Michael, he's too it's too young, 19 years of age, he's too young to be playing, you know. But in Spain they go, yeah, that this guy's going to be world class. Whereas I don't understand the whole nature where you need to bed a player in. I'm sorry, but if he's great enough to be involved, then you should get him involved. There was a quote from Alan Hansen all those years ago said, "If you're good enough, you're old enough," and that's what I say, Michael. If you've shown outstanding talent, there's no reason why you shouldn't be in the squad. And I still say about the young man at Motherwell.
Anna Lindmo says, I think Conway and Dock should start again tonight with Dykes, or Scarkin on the bench. Regan, I've got to agree with you, because about the mentality issue of some certain football pundits and some certain football fans, and maybe some certain people on the show actually has got a negative attitude, like, because like we can sit here until 10 o'clock, right, and speak about Spain, right, and I know Spain has got nice weather.
As much as I enjoy your company, Michael, I need to go off and watch the game. But we can stay until 10 o'clock if you want.
Yeah,
Then Graham can take over from 10 to 11.
but forget about Spain being a brilliant country, nice weather, and all that. Like, but they produce young players. I mean, Spain has got no fear about putting somebody in a big European Championship and scoring a brilliant goal. you know, and I think that goes back to your point because, well, if that's the case, I mean, you could probably say why is Forrest getting a game or Craig Gordon because they're getting old. You know what I mean? Um, and just because I say that, Reagan has went away
Yeah,
on that point.
I think I think that's a good point you make in terms of the younger players are really prospering over there. But I think
Yeah.
it's because you in terms of when you're younger, you've got more trust in them. But over here, it seems to be, oh, he needs maybe 3 years to bed in. I'm sorry, but if he's great enough to be involved, stop all of this. Um, you need 3 years to bed in. If he's great enough, he's old enough, and he should be in that squad. Anybody who's shown promise should be in there. Because I'll give you a great example, right? What happens if Spain said that during the Euros? They might not have won the Euros. They might not have
Mm.
created those memories. So it's all about, that's like me saying I don't want to go and do this today. But you might not have the opportunity to tomorrow. It's okay saying, well, I can do it in 3 years' time, but you might as well do it in the present day.
Yeah, no, exactly. And you don't know kind of like what's round the corner, especially in football that you've got a short window. Uh, you know, you've got a short career, and then you can retire and go into management or coaching or whatever. But in football, I think you've got something like maybe 10 years if you stay injury free and all that. But yeah, I think a lot of it could do with mentality, Reagan, and I think it's quite difficult to get out that way of thinking now because it's been it's been brought up in our I wouldn't like to see the DNA, but you know what I mean. Um, and nobody's trying to kind of say no, stop that. We need to bring kind of your like young players through.
Yeah, I think that's the point. That we need to try and breed through. I mean, see in terms of Scott, the under-21 coach manager, right? I mean, people are saying, well, this guy's doing a great job, right? But what is he actually doing? We've failed for back-to-back European Championships. We've failed to qualify for anything of note for a long time. So all of this notion that he's doing a great job, I'm sorry, but you need to be producing players that are doing well for Scotland, and also you need to be making sure that they're qualifying so that when they come into the main team, that they're going to be ready for it and not crack under the pressure. So for all these people that are saying Scott's doing a great job in the 21s, I don't really know, Michael, but see if you failed for three campaigns, I think your employer would be saying, "Look, Michael, as much as I enjoy your banter, sometimes your jokes, but you need to improve."
Yeah, no, exactly. Maybe I would be a bit stricter, Reagan, and say two campaigns because obviously you've got like you've got the Nations League games and whatever before you get to the actual tournament. But I think that's kind of like see this argument runs a bit deeper for me because I know that you're saying about youth football, but I mean I can go as back as the Henry McCreath kind of going into the SFA and kind of I think he was writing some kind of I can't remember. Do you remember the name of it? And they spent about 2 or 3 years looking at that, and it was covering youth football. But I mean, what's you know what's the outcome of it? Where are the players? Have we got to a World Cup final yet?
Oh, Michael, you've got big expectations, but I think when you're talking about Henry there, you're just showing your age. Um, but I mean, in terms of this SFA at the moment, I think another big issue I want to get onto, Michael. I know we don't go on too much about it, but I mean the fact that it game's on YouTube tonight.
Hmm.
The fact that the TV channels don't want to pay for the Scotland matches for me is beyond a joke. You know, they need to sit round in the Parliament and say this is what we want to do. You know, because because if you look at any of the other nations, they've got all their football matches available. You know, and it's about time that all of these broadcasters that they sit around and go, right, well, the Scottish people actually want to see the national team. And how you meant to inspire how you meant to inspire the next generation of Scotland supporters, of Scotland players to play for the national team if you've not got your main broadcaster showing the matches, you know, and especially free to air as well. You know, I'm a big free to air guy. I mean, I get that the YouTube is on free to air, but not a lot of people can get access to YouTube. I mean, like, if you've got older people, they really struggle with modern technology. Um, so I think it's something that we need to bear in mind.
I think as well that something that baffled me was watching the highlights on Friday night, Reagan. The commentators were Michael Stewart and Rory Hamilton, right? But the thing with that is, right, they work for Premier Sports, right? So why are they not on Premier Sports? Because if they're kind of like part of that team, like why, you know, all they're missing is a presenter and two kind of like pundits. I mean, they've got the common take. They've got the comms and the co-coms sorted. Like, so what they're waiting for? You know, but yeah, I mean, and last night I come in as well. At England and Ireland on STV, Scottish Television. But that baffles me that because like I think Rick Klug is giving away the name Scottish TV and it's not even on. And as you say, Reagan, people obviously this is not a Costco 11 show as well, but Costco 11 show would affect people going to football games because it's too expensive or whatever. But what happens is they can't afford the internet, you know, and there wasn't any highly packages on either. So what's people if people got to rely on second hand news or have they got to rely on newspapers to tell them the score and what happened? It's you know, I can't remember when I was kind of growing up and I'm a bit younger than you, as you know, Reagan, but I can't remember that a Scotland game not been on TV. It's always been on, whether it was on BBC or Sky.
Sorry, Mike, I'm just going to jump in there. I've got the Scotland, the lineup. It's
Oh, good. Yep.
Craig in goal, Tony Ralston at right back, Andy Robertson, Scott McTominay, Grant Hanley, John Suter, John McGinn, Billy, Dykes, Ben Doak, and Kenny McLean. So
There you go.
it's virtually the same team as the other night, apart from we've got John McGinn and we have Ben Doak started. And obviously the big one that I said earlier, and Dykes should play. And Steve Clark's obviously listened to this show. You know he's a big fan of the locker room, Michael. I mean, it's just great that he's tuning in because I did mention at the start of the show that I think that he should play Doak and play Dykes. So it's good that me and Steve Clark have got things in common. He's a big supporter of the locker room. So
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, hopefully you'll be watching, Steve, because we've got a show on Wednesday night. What about that for Seamless Link? We've got a show on Wednesday night. We'll be back on Friday, obviously, for the weekend shows and Sunday, but also we've got a show on Wednesday night coming up at 8 o'clock
yeah, we
on
have.
our favourite subject, VAR. There we go. Join the team from 8 o'clock on Wednesday, and we'll be joined by the guy from the Behind the Whistle podcast. So we'll be here from 8 o'clock on Wednesday night. I presume it's going to be a very busy show. So, yeah, get your comments coming in on Wednesday night, and get your comments coming in from tonight as well, as we build up to the Scotland, the Poland Scotland game, and we'll be back at 10 o'clock.
Yeah, Michael, Michael, just go over that team for anyone joining again. It's Craig in goal. It's Tony Ralston, Andy Robertson, Scott McTominay, Grant Hanley, John Suter, John McGinn, Billy, Dykes, Doak, and Kenny McLean. So what do you think about that, Michael? Do you think it's a strong enough team to get the victory by 2 goals in Poland tonight?
Yeah, no, that seemed a good team on paper, obviously, but as we know that it doesn't get played on paper. But yeah, I mean, as a strong team, especially going away from home.
All right, Alan, it's nice to see you, pal.
There we go.
How are we doing, guys? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah.
Aye.
Yeah, good stuff. You've heard, I think you've heard the team news by now. What do you think of it, Alan?
So I'm literally catching it live, and I'm quite surprised by Dykes coming in, only because I thought Conway was all right, and I thought he would get more opportunities tonight. So I'm a bit surprised that Dykes is coming. However, we know what he can do for Scotland. He's great up top. He wins headers. We are going to get plenty up top. Aye.
As I said to Michael about 10 minutes ago, Alan, I think Steve Clark must watch the show, because I said about 20 past 6. I just feel like that Dykes should start, because if you look back to the Austria match, Alan, and he played against Norway, and player for player, Norway are a better team than us, but he made it hard for them to really get in there, and he really holds the ball up well. And that's something we struggled with on Friday night. As much as we won the game, we sort of struggled to keep the ball, because Croatia were kind of dominating the match and making sure that they were passing the ball well. And I think the fact we've got Dykes there, because it's sort of the old-fashioned you remember everybody used to say, are they able to cope with a Tuesday night at Stoke? It's that sort of thing, Alan, when you want you need to get a throw in, you need to get try and get the squad up the park, and that's kind of what Scotland need to do tonight, because Poland are a good team. I've not seen the lineup, but I don't think Lewandowski's playing, Alan. So that'll be a thing. Hopefully, Dykes can get his scoring boots from Lewandowski. Hopefully, he can change them in the changing room and score a few goals tonight. But do you think this squad's capable of hopefully scoring the 2 goals we need to hopefully progression in this Nations League?
Absolutely, without a doubt. I mean, we scored 2 against them at Hampden. Obviously, Doak came on and made an impact. Obviously, Gilmore scored. I think it was McTominay as well. So those guys are all on the pitch. Looking at the Poland lineup, they're going to be playing, it looks like a 5-3-2, with 2 up top and sort of Moder in the centre. That right sort of wing back position is Zaluski, and he scored against us. He scored the penalty. You saw how much he was driving up that side. Now, if he drives up that side, he leaves, I forget how to pronounce his name, but Kivior at he's Arsenal's left centre back. So he leaves him exposed to Doak, and he cannot do that. So every attack, Poland are going to be predominantly attacking up that side, and that's just going to leave room for Doak. And I think the reason that Dykes is in as well, they might have been thinking about this. There's going to be crosses from him into the box, and what we saw with the Conway ones, a lot of the crosses were at ground level, chest level, trying to get in, and that space right in front of Conway, and he didn't quite make it. When you've got Dykes in the team, those crosses can be in the air. And that's probably what he's going to be able to do. He's maybe going to have that slight switch. So he's going to have crosses, obviously, been able to land into Dykes' head. Dyke can get knock-ons or bring it down or maybe get a goal from a header.
Yeah.
But just that sucking into that side is going to open up so much space for McGinn, who usually he's not quite the fastest. So he can't really exploit the space ahead of him like Doak can. However, he's going to have more space because people are going to have to slightly move across that side and mark Doak. It's going to be brilliant.
I've not spoken to you for quite a few weeks there, but I want to get your thoughts on Ben Doak, because me and Graham and Robbie were on Friday. It was a great show. If you've not listened to it, go back, watch it, people. But I mean, Ben Doak on Friday, Alan, I don't know if you watched the match or you were at Hampden, but it was just brilliant to see him play.
Aye, I was at Hampden. I was in the North Stand, and I'm in that sort of section C3, so it's up the right hand side. So I was looking forward to the second half and just praying that Clark didn't take him off, because I knew come the second half we'd get to see him right up that wing. And obviously saw from the distance, he skinned Vardale that first half when he was played in, turned him, cut it back, and McTominay had that shot. Second half, because we had that extra man, he just stuck to that byline. Now, a couple of times he done this weird switch for Ralston, where Ralston would send him inside. I wasn't too sure what was happening there, but for the most part, it was just Ben Doak getting a free run at Vardale, left, right, and centre. And it was interesting to watch him. I don't know if you've ever seen Ben Doak play for other youth groups, or even back to sort of his sort of debut for Liverpool, even his first game for Middlesbrough. And he was running unabated, and his final ball, that final decision wasn't quite right. Just this game time, he's not played many games for Middlesbrough. It might be 8 games or something, and a couple for Scotland now. But in that very small space of time, all he's doing, his decision making is like up tenfold. Like that cut back to McTominay, he maybe wasn't doing that when he first came into the play at Middlesbrough, but he's doing that now. And then obviously the cutbacks and the crosses, he picked Gilmore out. He obviously picked the winning cross out that got the goal from McGinn. 2 or 3 other really, really good opportunities that he created. So his decision making's improved. So as a player, we already knew how good he was. We already knew he needed a run of games. He's having that run of games, and he's like getting so much better in such a short space of time. So you're looking at, where will he be come June? Where will he be come a year's time, or come the end of the World Cup qualifying campaign? The sky is the limit for this guy.
Alan, before we come on, before you come on, me and Reagan, we always I don't know why, but we always manage to talk about Scotland and youth football. That goes without saying. And I think that back when we did the show at the Euros, the Euros in lockdown, where Scotland had a brilliant point that night at Wembley, and we could have won that game. However, we were making the point, and we're still making the point today. I don't know why that we've got no real kind of youth coming through the system at club football. Okay, we've got a few, particularly Lennon Miller. He's a kind of like standout at the moment, but they're not getting kind of like this chance. And the point I was making to Reagan early on was, that the boy at Spain, 19-year-old, he scored a brilliant goal at the Euros. Do you think it's big? Do you think we've got this mentality in Scotland that, he's too young, don't put him in? Do you think that's a mentality issue that we should get away from? Because I mean, we have got brilliant talent out there, but they're not given the chance.
I think it's situational, and I think it's definitely, there's no way you can argue against it. It's apparent to everybody that there is a sort of mindset where we are reluctant at some level to expose youth to get to a chance. But I think it is changing slowly. It's only going to change more the more people that break through. Now, I think clubs now, in our system, clubs now have to be open to the fact they're going to lose their talented young players to foreign countries like England, like Italy, if they don't give them game time. So one of the reasons Lennon Miller's staying at Motherwell is because he's getting game time. So you'd hope that same feeling would be sort of influenced maybe by an Aberdeen or a Kilmarnock or the likes. But I think further down the pyramid, it's interesting because you talk about high stakes games and you talk about the Premier League and the way it's set up with a number of teams. There's too many. It's too tight to gamble. But I think it's also decision making because you look at the way Hibs are playing. Can he pick up a point? You're like, why not? You've got a sort of your situation where they're losing so many games, so many late goals. Change something drastically. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, this is easy for me to say. I'm not a manager; it's not my job. But be bold. I mean, I'm very lucky. I'm a Falkirk fan at the moment, and obviously, not a great result at the weekend, but things are going great. We've got quite a young team. Our goalkeeper's 22. Adams, right back's 22. Finn Yeats is about 21. He comes off the bench every game. Played the full last season at right back when he was 20. You've got players up and down the park who are 25 or less, and I would still like us to see play teenagers, give them an opportunity. So that's still one area I think we can improve on, especially in games like the Morton one where we're up 6-0. We end up bringing all of the squad off the bench basically, but left the 16, 17-year-olds on the bench. And that was maybe a game where give them a run out, give them 10, 15 minutes, let them impress. So we can still do better, but we play young players and we buy into them. And there does need to be systematic change. At this moment, I can see there's so many positives. If you bring to a young guy, at the very least, you can sell him. You look at Lewis Ferguson, even though it's tribunals and development fees, Celtic got money for Doak, Rangers got money for Gilmore. These guys generate cash, which ultimately goes back into the academy and the club and shows the value of each of these academies. So there needs to be a wholesale change, and I think that has to be led from the SFA and either financial incentives mandating youth players to sit on the extra substitute spots on the bench. It needs to be youth players that occupy them. Percentage of minutes have to go to youth players in order to meet certain bonus criteria. It could also be that I don't know, like there's incentives implied in some other ways for clubs to sort of unlock that, especially with that there's more UEFA money coming in. Some of that could be held back if they were to play youth. But I think that change also has to come from the top. People need to see it being a success, and one of the ways we do that is with the national team. It's the biggest sort of showcase for us to showcase youth talent. And right now, we've criticised Clark for so long. We have, because it has been the same old faces. But right now, he is changing. He's shown that adaptability, especially post Euros when we thought he might not. And he's bringing in young guys. He's got Gilmore starting every game. He's Guillaume Ben Doak starts. That's 2 in a row. Aye.
And that's something I mentioned on Friday, Alan. I'm glad that Steve Clark's changed his mind because, like, it's okay us criticising, but now he's actually doing it. I don't think we can really grumble because I heard somebody on the radio the other day talking about David Moyes and all that, but I don't think David Moyes can really do too much. I mean, in terms of what Steve Clark's doing, he's bringing in Ben Doak. Hopefully, he'll bring in the young boy from Motherwell too. So I feel like all we wanted to see from Steve Clark was a bit of accountability and also a bit of showing that he's learning from his mistakes.
Yep, you're totally right. And for a while we didn't see that. And I mean, trying to continue with the back five, that was a big problem. So what we've seen in this campaign is the switch to the 4. And we've seen it. We struggled. Obviously, we lost 3 games in a row. Now, the performances didn't warrant the defeats, but we lost 3 games in a row. And it might have been very easy for them at the next bank of games to go, you know what, we'll go back to the 5. And it didn't do that. And we've now got the results to kind of show that we're gradually switching. Now, you're looking at players in this team, and you've got youth coming through. You've got more youth to come back. You've got Ferguson to come back. You've got a right back. Ralston's obviously started every game in this Nations League campaign and grown into the campaign and grown into that Scotland jersey. I think someone mentioned recently he was coming up for 20 caps. Now, O'Donnell only got about 25, 26. So he's eventually probably going to exceed that. But that position is also going to be filled eventually by a Patterson or by a Hickey, 2 youngsters who are coming through as well. So I think there is places all over the park where he is trying to bring in that youth. I mean, it is exciting. It's definitely exciting.
Somebody said bring back Joe Georgian. Yeah, I think he'll help as well. Somebody's at the wing up, Alan. I don't know if it's all about opinions. Come on, Poland. Hopefully you're wrong. But anyway, thanks for watching it on YouTube. Alan, I don't want to get bogged down on this kind of youth football thing, right? But I find it interesting every time we talk about Scotland, and I know that we were saying, I was asking you about youth football coming up through Scotland, and I know that it runs deeper than the national team. I mean, I remember, was it Henry McLeish done a plan in the Scottish football?
Yeah.
What was it, 5 years ago? Don't know what
It
happened.
was actually 2012, I think it was 2010,
2012.
2012.
I don't know what happened to him, or the report must have been put on the shelf and kind of like forgotten
Well,
about.
actually, it didn't. So just since you're on it, it didn't actually. One of the things that the report led to was the creation. So I think it led to the development at Oriam. Is one of the areas that was funded. The creation of that complex, which is a brilliant sports complex. They've had their issues. Obviously, the men's team used to train there. Then there was that whole the quality isn't quite good enough. But the women's team still trains there, and I believe Hearts also use it. So that facility's. I'm pretty sure I'd need to check, but I'm sure that facility came out of funding made available following the report. But there was also the plan put in place, like the one in 2010, 2012, I think it was, that was a 10-year plan for the 2020 Euros. And the idea was bringing in the JID Performance Schools program in order to give kids of that age, of that young sort of, I don't know, between the age of like 10 and 16, or maybe the age groups are slightly more expanded. It gave them thousands of hours extra of football lessons and football and stuff from nutrition lessons to technique on the ball, stuff to develop their game as a pro. And a lot of those players we didn't. I think one of the goals set out by the program was to get 3 JID Performance School graduates in the Euro 2020 squad. That was one of the goals. Now, we didn't get 3. We got 2. We got Patterson was in the squad, never got a game. Gilmore did get the game, obviously, the England game. So that almost, but we did get the 3 extra spaces for the squad at that Euros. So when we did get the 3 extra spaces, a wee bit of my mind was going, well, they just picked the 3 youths so they can meet this target and keep the performance schools going. I don't know, but then Gilmore got the game and he was brilliant in that game. So that did work. Now, we need to keep seeing that. And we need to keep seeing the benefit of it. Now, there's a couple of female youth players who are in the national setup who've gone through that same programme. They're doing well. But we need to keep seeing more. But what you are doing is like in the under-21s, under-19s, and you are seeing it now littered with the JID tag next to their names. And that's as a result of those schools. So they don't cover enough of Scotland. There's been issues throughout Scotland. The Fife Elite Academy, that closed down. So that's an area that's got a gap at the moment. I mean, the performance schools, I'll forget one of them, but there's I think there's one down in sort of Ayrshire Way. There's Glasgow, one in Falkirk, one at Grange High. There's also Edinburgh. So there's a few around, but they're not covering all the country. I think the Highlands kind of miss out, and Fife as well. So there's areas in the country where there's definitely talent, where there's not that academy or school for the kids to go to, and there's too far for their parents to travel and take them. So they're missing out. So there's definitely gaps there for them to take them and develop them. But I think it's one of these things that they've put in place, and there's stuff we don't see. But I do think they can do more.
Yeah, no, exactly, and also as well on the back of that, right? We were talking about youth football, and that ties in as well, because we were talking about why going Stevie Clarke play him, but it's different to club football, because I'm sure if Falkirk or Celtic or Rangers or whoever, they can go out and buy him, obviously if they've got the money. But obviously, it's international football. It's different. Like, you've got to live within your means in terms of you can't buy anybody. You can only look at players and say, like, if they're doing a brilliant job for Falkirk or Hibs, for instance, so it must be a bit different. But in terms of when Stevie Clarke got the job years ago, it must be quite difficult to comprehend that, you know, you can only work within your means. You know, you can't go outside that bubble and buy a player for, like, say, 3 million.
No, you're right. You're right, and I think one of the issues is if you've got a period of instability or a run of bad results, which ultimately when he came in, there was a couple of heavy defeats. He experienced a couple as well, and has experienced even more since. So I think there was loads of guys getting capped, and he did need to stabilise the squad, and that's ultimately what got us to the Euros. He managed to get a stable squad. We picked players who might have been people's first choices. I mean, you remember the likes of Declan Gallagher, Constant played a part. You've got Stephen O'Donnell was a staple for a while because he didn't have many places to go. Now, a lot of people would point out X player, Y player who was playing in certain leagues or as ones he should have exploited, but sometimes it's better the devil you know in football. And I guess international football, like he's done, and like many people say, he's built this club mentality where, yeah, you'll have bad games, but if you're loyal to him and you do perform on the park enough, he will bring you back in, and you need to keep repaying that loyalty on a regular basis until at which point you're cycled out of it. And I think guys like Armstrong might have thought with Doak in the squad, he might have thought that was his time up, but ultimately injuries meant that because he's available, he's come back in as well, following some game time for Vancouver Whitecaps. So, yeah, I think it is difficult. You have got a pool of players to choose from, and you have to pick the best. But what I would say is, with Scotland, it's nowhere near the best of a bad bunch. In certain positions, it's hard to come by. I mean, when you look at Kieran Slickers on the bench just now, see, Kieran Slickers came through the Man City Academy. Ipswich bottom, they did a loan spell at Rochdale. He's only got a handful of first-team appearances. I like Slicker. I like him under 21 level. I've watched him a few times in person at Tynecastle. A good goalkeeper. Is going to have a really promising career. Needs game time. Absolutely needs game time. There's goalkeepers in this. I mean, I'm obviously heavily biased, but Nicky Hogarth was at Nottingham Forest, and we've got him at Falkirk. Now he's brilliant for us. Yes, he's young, but he's now cemented that first team jersey. I mean, I'm not going to say he should get a Scotland game, but what I'm saying is he's equally deserving of a spot in that squad as Kieran Slicker.
I think it would be around, and I think the biggest compliment you can pay is someone like Devlin, who was in the squad last time. You know what I mean? Like, he was at Stenhousemuir, he was at David Martindale's side down in Edinburgh. So it's all about these stories as well. When people go, "Oh, he's at Falkirk, it doesn't really matter," or he's at Motherwell, or when Motherwell's to be a club.
Aye.
At the end of the day, if these guys are great enough to play, they should be playing.
But then you look at it, McGinn was at St Mirren, Kenny McLean was at St Mirren, like Andy Robertson was at Queen's Park, John Souttar was at Hearts and Dundee United and whoever else. Like all these, the best, all the players in their squad have Scottish connections further down the pyramid, and ultimately some of them have had to wait until they have gone up the next few levels to get that call up. But that's not to say they maybe weren't quite ready. It's just that they weren't picked at the lower level. And if they're in the squad earlier, then they're more familiar. I mean, Doak came in, didn't get a game, and then obviously came back. I think he was actually injured. But you've got players who've come into camps. Patterson, for example, that Euros camp. He's come in, no played, be a part of the camp. Came back after that and got a few games, got his first goal for Scotland, a couple of assists and crosses. He's got familiar with that setup, and there's players who are talented to deserve that time. I think the goalkeeping situation is an interesting one. I do think we need someone who plays. I don't think the bench should ever have anybody who's not playing as a goalkeeper, because they might come in. And with Gunn out, and you've got Gordon, obviously brilliant first choice, quite comfortable with Gunn starting every game. But you need people who play, and even if it isn't Hogarth, if it's somebody else in that pyramid who's potentially going to develop into a top quality keeper, they need to be in that squad. And I've no doubt Slicker might be, but he's not playing. So I think that's the kind of thing that has to be taken into account.
I just want to ask you in terms of this match against Poland. You spoke about our players, but who do you think we need to watch?
Zalewski. Zalewski. He's obviously a wiry winger. How far forward he goes, I don't know, because it really needs to be thinking about Doak. He needs to be supporting his defender. So that'll be an interesting one. Moder controls the tempo, so we need to kind of keep an eye on him. That's going to be McTominay unsettling him. McGinn's going to come in and try and do that. But Poland are a good unit. They had star quality. They're missing that star quality now, so that we can get at them. Absolutely.
Before we go, Regan, if you want to repeat the Scotland team for tonight, because I know that a few people was asking about it. So if you can give us a Scotland team in your William Wallace accent, that'd be brilliant.
Aye, so it's Craigie and goals. Then it's Tony Ralston, Robertson, Scott McTominay, Grant Hanley, Suter, John McGinn, Billy Dykes, Ben Doak, and McLean.
There you go. That's a Scotland team. And just before we let you go as well, that just to let you know, we'll be back on at 10 o'clock for the post-match analysis of the game, and also we'll be back on Wednesday night because we've got a show about VAR. I'm sure Alan loves to speak about that when Falkirk's in the big time. Good luck with that one. So on Wednesday night, that is the 20th at 8 o'clock here on Independence Live. We'll be joined by the guy from Behind the Whistle podcast. So it'll be brilliant to have them back on again. And then we'll be back on again on Friday with all the build up to the weekend's games and Sunday as well. So before we go, we've got to ask you the favourite question at the moment, Alan, about how disappointed are you not to see the game not on the TV tonight?
It's on YouTube, so I'm not that disappointed. I think the way everything is, TVs and stuff nowadays, there's very few people who will not be able to access it. It is a shame that it's not on easier services, but to be honest, a lot of folk didn't even have BBC. They didn't want to pay the TV license. So
exactly, yeah.
So YouTube's free for all.
Exactly. Here. There we go. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for watching the show. Thanks to Regan. Thanks to Alan. And we'll see you
Cheers,
at
guys.
10 o'clock. Hopefully,
Sure.
2-0 maybe.
Yeah, have you got a prediction, Alan, for the game?
I'm going to say 3-1 Scotland.
I'll go for Poland 1, Scotland 4.
Ooh,
Come on,
nice
Scotland.
one. Right, guys, I'll cheers for that. I'll catch you later on.
Ethan.